Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program this
Hello.
evening. We are meditating tonight, but first, we'd like to start with a joke.
Yes.
And given that we had this incredible lunar eclipse last week, the question
Yes.
is this: how does the moon cut his hair?
I have no idea.
Eclipse it. Yeah.
Oh, that's a cute one.
We didn't say the joke would be good, but we did say it would be there, and
There, it was here. It was
now we
present.
it was
It was
present.
present. We could say
Okay,
that for the whole class.
that's true.
We're definitely present. No, that's
Present.
such a cute, so cute. I love the wordplay. Mm.
Tonight we're talking about the themes of change and new beginnings. And, the eclipse was that, right? Like we saw this like whole circuit of change happen. And the funny thing is
Mm-hmm.
that this happens anyway, right? That happens in the course of an ordinary month, right? But like we get to
Yeah.
see it faster and we got to like experience it and, get a sense of like, oh, here's something ending and here's something else beginning and, you know,
Yeah.
and the excitement of that, um, and it made me think about how, you know, um, it's like we understand things and we understand the flow of time as a story, as a narrative, right? And a
Mm-hmm.
story has a beginning and a middle and an end, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we kind of understand life by going into these stories, right? And by we hear a lot of stories, right? We take them in, our we
Mm-hmm.
make our lives into one too, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I just was thinking about how when you really get into the breath and the study of the breath also tells a story, and it's a very rich one, right? It's one that we can really learn a lot from. But a lot of
Mm.
times we don't see the breath in that way because we just breathe a little too rapidly, right? The breath is so short, and we don't experience it as having like that structure, But when we like really slow it down and really study it and really get into it, it's like each breath is kind of like a whole lifetime, and
Mm.
it gives us the opportunity to study life in a whole different way, and um,
Yeah.
something to think about as we get into these themes.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I think that the what would you say is the middle of the breath? You know, if the beginning of the breath was the inhalation, what would the middle be?
I would say that each part of it has a beginning, middle, and end, right? Like the inhalation has an energy at the very beginning of the inhalation,
Mm.
and then it like matures, and hits its stride. I mean, if
Yeah.
if it's sort of slow and full and all this, right?
Hmm.
And then it comes to an end, right? And a lot of times we experience difficulty toward the end, right? I don't know if you've ever had this, you're trying to maintain a certain count, you're breathing in, and then you're like, right? Like it's
Mm.
difficult toward the end, right? And like,
Hmm.
because a lot of endings are like that, right? And it builds in intensity,
That's so true. That is so true. With both the inhalation and the exhalation, the ending is definitely like the more refined in some ways, but also like definitely the more difficult. Like especially with that exhalation, I experienced that a lot.
Yeah,
But other people would experience it with their inhalation. That's like, it depends on what your specialty is.
yeah, right.
So,
But for both, you're probably going
yeah.
to feel a building of energy, because you
Mm-hmm.
have this flow that reaches its culmination, and the exhalation, it's like you're controlling that flow, we're smoothing that flow, but we're just also noticing like the beginning of it is just very different from the middle and from the end, and
Mm-hmm.
that there's something
Mm-hmm.
in that, that um and how different it is also not constant, so it's like every breath is different, right? And you string
Yeah.
these together and it has a certain larger pattern perhaps. It's a fascinating study.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. The Yeah, I saw the eclipse. I watched the eclipse and it was just extraordinary. I mean, I watched the whole thing and it was really long. I had a great view of it. It was pretty much started right on the horizon and the moon was really big and it was really clear skies here in the Sonoran Desert. And so
Nice.
um I ended up seeing like more of it than I ever had ever seen. And I
Hmm.
thought um it really brought the moon to life in a different way, Um, and I just thought of it as like seeing all these new parts to something because it's experiencing change, and how like every time that we experience change, which in some ways is constant, but certain changes are bigger than others, but every time we experience change, it's like we're experiencing new parts of ourselves and discovering new parts of the beauty we hold or the darkness we hold. It was like a blood moon. Dark.
Yeah, right.
It was cool, yeah. Um, but anyway, so I thought it was a beautiful metaphor of like how often we have these rebirth experience, but it's like we have these realizations and we get to experience new parts of ourselves and new parts of life. But that process can often be scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. I mean, right. I think, and understanding that and seeing how it goes and getting a feel for that rhythm. And I think, these things all help, but it doesn't take away the uncertainty. It doesn't take away that,
Right.
that mystery, right?
Right. Yeah, it's funny because it is constant, but yeah, it's like that um fear of the unknown is always there, that like fear of the change. And I think during certain parts of a transition, that new beginning, that's like the dawn that happens,
Yeah,
after a dark night, after a night of uncertainty or a night of darkness, like that new beginning is more or less the dawn. But even then, it's like you don't know what the day is going to bring, right?
right.
Yeah.
And it
And
might
yeah,
become darker toward the dawn too, as they say, right? Like,
right. Right.
even though the
But
day is only, it's about to break, right? It could still be very dark. So,
yeah, so that middle part of the story can often be, sometimes a little bit uncertain. Or that last push, as you were saying, that
yeah,
last push.
right.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, shall we meditate? Or was there something else you wanted to
No,
mention?
let's meditate. Let's see if we can pull this together somehow.
Okay, into meditation. Um, all right. So as you're ready, come into your posture and just start to, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and start to notice all that's happening inside of you. And you can breathe your more natural breath, or you can already start to deepen your breath, but in a way that is still very much just tuning in to yourself organically in this moment. And as you listen in and look inward and feel what's all happening inside of you today, just getting a baseline for today. Start to deepen your breathing and maybe even gently warm up your system, like Asatar was talking about, and really feeling these three parts of the breath: the beginning, middle, and end. What's nice about the breath in a lot of ways is that we are experiencing the beginning, middle of end and end of something, but we don't have to have a story with it in this moment. In this moment, the breath can be free and almost like something that's able to bring you through this process of beginning, middle, and end. Just already with every breath that you take is going to be able to tune in with a part of you that it's like it doesn't have the words even yet. And in this way, your breath can help you with whichever part of the story of change that you're at right now, whatever juncture of change your life is facing. And so pay attention on your inhalation and exhalation as you deepen your breathing. Deep, full inhaling, bringing your breath to the bottom of your torso and filling your breath all the way up to your heart. And all the way up to your collarbones. But not with tension, especially at the top of that inhalation. The inhalation is very much like a relaxing. It's allowing more breath to weave its way in. And so, especially when you get to the end of the inhalation, you want to really allow yourself to continue to absorb all the energy of this breath, but not create tension in your neck or shoulders or eyes or jaw. And then the same with the exhalation, checking in with each part of the exhalation for yourself. And to be sure that you're having your full exhalation out at the end of your exhalation, you want to squeeze your abdomen in toward your spine and really push all of the remaining air out of your lungs. And then the next inhalation comes in right again. And in this way, every breath is very much a new beginning, a middle, and an end. And then as you breathe this way, start to look into your heart. Really trying to feel and connect with the very center of your being as you breathe. And as you breathe with your heart in this way, really almost see if you can feel like you are looking at your heart. It's like you're looking through all the parts of your heart, and you're trying to see all the parts of your heart, but also trying to just feel the center. I want you to look for inside yourself the eye of the storm. Maybe you don't feel a storm happening in yourself today, and that would be wonderful. But we have so much going on inside all the time, between our senses, the different sense gates, the eyes, the ears, taste, our our mind, our heart, our belly, our feet. There's so much happening all the time. And look inside your heart for what feels like the most central part of yourself that almost feels like a nuclei, something that holds almost more gravity than other parts of you. A place that is calmer, calm through everything, central. And as you connect with this part of your being, breathe full deep breath, completing the beginning, middle, and end. And this is kind of the key of like holding your focus on this constant inside of you, the center of yourself, the center of your being, while doing full breath. Even in the moments of pure stillness with yourself, there's movement, right? Big breathing, holding steadfast the very core of your being. And I would like you, if you feel good about it, I want to invite you to ask your heart, what transformation is it currently facing? What rebirth are you currently going through? Who are you becoming? And if you feel like you come face to face with this, like, it's almost like your aspiration, this new beginning, this different part of yourself having light on it, this different new iteration of yourself really starting to come into form. If you have a feeling of that inside of you or in front of you, try to really meet that right now with an open heart. So almost allow your shoulders to broaden and allow your collarbones to broaden and allow your jaw to soften. And whatever it is that, whatever new beginning that you're coming toward, whatever it is you are becoming, whoever it is you are becoming. In this moment, just allow yourself to meet this with a very open heart. Feeling it in your heart, but at the same time, allowing your heart almost to unwind and soften. Meeting and breathing with whatever you meet there. Maybe you don't want to open your heart, or maybe it's not quite ready, or so on. But you want to have this opening of your heart for this feeling of where you're going, what's happening, the change that's occurring within yourself or in your life. And you want to have a deep compassion for yourself as you go through this transformation. And so, this opening of your heart allows you to meet and face it with a softness that will allow you to have a deeper, keen listening. And at the same time that you're feeling this sense in your body of who you are becoming, can you still find the center of yourself while you breathe with and through what is and what's becoming? Can you find that constancy inside the center of yourself even now, while actively thinking about and feeling in your heart all that will be and all you don't know about what will be? All that you don't yet know about yourself and the colors that are available to you, the different iterations of your personality, the art of your personality expanding. There's so much you have yet to discover with this new beginning, or with this change. And if there is a part of your body as you breathe this way, tuning in with your heart and tuning with yourself, and if there is a part of you or part of your body that's somehow in the darkness or it feels like it's in the darkness, just tune in with that now and breathe into it, keeping your heart open and full of compassion. The possibilities are truly infinite, and that's why it's so unknown what will happen. But there are certain things we can rely on, such as life's insatiable drive to live, to create, experience, and change. And so, to close this meditation, I'd like to do a sound practice that is a Sufi sound practice, and the word is Nur, and it means that it is the light at a new beginning. So even before the sun rises, if you imagine, even before a sunrise, there's a pervasive light that has no shadow. It's like the dawn really starts there. And this light is the light of creation. And so if you like to, please join me. You definitely will get more benefit by joining in. But you definitely will still be participating by listening. And we'll just close the practice with a few of this sound of Noor and really bringing the light of creation into your heart, or maybe even into the darkest parts of you, the places that need the most light at this moment of time. We're bringing this creative light right into your heart so that your heart can take it and transmutate it out through your hands, out through your eyes, out through your voice, your creative expression, your rebirth, and your becoming. And so the sound goes like this. And just taking a few more breaths, really trying to bring the energy of that light without any shadow right into your heart as you breathe, focusing all the energy into your heart. Maybe holding your breath at the top of your next inhalation, holding your breath at the top of your next inhalation for one breath, and holding the light there, holding the light in your heart. And at the same time, feeling that constancy at the center of your being. Exhaling fully and completely. And as you're ready, moving your body and open your eyes. Mm.
Nice meditation, Leah. Thank you.
Thank you, Asata. Thanks for meditating with me.
Mm.
Mm.
It feels good to be in that light. That's a very calming, gentle light. It's like it brings change, but in a gentle way, in a subtle way.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Or it's a bit like
Yeah.
the sunrise itself. The sun rises not with some kind of explosion, right? But like a, you
Mm-hmm.
know, slowly, but, inexorably. And,
Mm. Well, yeah, yeah. And it's kind of, yeah, because some change is slow, right? Some change is something where you really want, it does take time to build certain things in ourselves, you know,
yeah,
so yeah, sometimes it's like, the journey can get a little weary sometimes. And even when there's a new beginning, and maybe even especially so because there's so much change, right?
change is always
So,
difficult. Change is always difficult, even if we long for it, even if we prayed for it, even if, all that, right? We're here for change, but it's not easy.
yeah. And so it's like remembering the inspiration of that dawn that's happening,
Yeah.
and bringing that in. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
And too, just the experience of like making that sound. If you participated in it, right? This is a very gentle, refined sound. It has a even flow to it. The sound, right? All of this, um, and we set it with a certain energy too. So like all of
Yeah.
these things are significant in terms of creating that energy within and experiencing that. And I just want everyone
Hmm.
to be aware of that, as every part of this is very carefully designed to produce a certain effect in us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because with sound resonant, it's like it's just a very quick way to create biofeedback that's really soothing. So
Right.
so sound practices are very, very healing, and effective. But the breath is what allows the sound to really move. Yeah, and the
Absolutely.
intention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm. Well, when we're talking about change, there's just so much there. I was thinking about this I don't know, this little video clip I saw. It was a CGI thing, but it
Mm-hmm.
was it was of something that was floating in space, and below it was water, um, just this churning water, and um, I think it's just meant to be like a background graphic, right? But of
Uh-huh.
course, I spent some time studying it because it was like, because the movement of the water was so unpredictable. It was
Right.
so, it was just churning, like, and so then it made me think about that because, it's like water has a certain rhythm to it. Its movement has a certain rhythm to it, because of its
Mm-hmm.
just because of its quality, right? Because it's liquid, because it has a certain viscosity, because it's in motion, whatever, right? But like, it wants to kind of move at a certain pace or whatever, right? Like, Um,
Mm.
and it just see this makes me think about change from like the next order of it. Like what is the quality of the change itself? How rapidly is it occurring? What's the
Right.
rhythm? Um, how much change is there? All this stuff, and that's what I think of when I see that like that
Mhm.
churning water, because water can also be in motion and have a much gentler flow to it, right? As it's not, so much of this, right? And
Mhm.
you know, I, I think that's something to think about too, because like some changes are more gentle than others, and some are like more jarring, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, but exactly, yeah.
But also, when I was
Uh,
looking at that water, I was
mhm.
thinking about just how much energy is in it, right? Like, how much energy does it take to get that water to just churn like that, like
Right.
hot? And that
Yeah.
energy has to like be present within this container to get it to happen. And like, not that I care about trying to get water to churn. I'm just thinking of like when we feel like we're in that churning water ourselves,
Mhm.
like, well, there's an energy underneath it, and that's something we can like appreciate, right? Even if we're getting sort of kicked around by it, it's like, wow, really, really getting a lot of energy here.
Mm.
And I feel like this is what happens when we tune ourselves to the breath. We're tuning ourselves to energy, you know,
Yeah, totally.
and like we're harmonizing that, right? We're saying energy is energy, so okay, the churning kind or whatever, that chaotic kind,
Mhm.
let's bring that in and harmonize it, and maybe it means your own rhythm has to speed up a little bit to meet that, right? And can you do that without totally losing your head, right?
Mm.
And
That's a great metaphor, yeah.
yeah, um,
Yeah, because it can fluctuate so much and you really are
yeah,
meeting it. You're meeting whatever's there. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like it's a good metaphor too for kind of our attitude in dealing with all this, or even our attitude in meditation also, right? Like,
Mhm.
we want to um, we want to feel and experience what's going on within ourselves. Um, and we don't want to be overwhelmed by it. We don't want to have the feeling
Right.
like, oh my God, I'm swept away here, right? We want the feeling of like, yeah, let's meet this, or let's embrace this, or let's see that it's energy. Let's see that it has some meaning for us, or some, has a purpose for us, right? And
Mhm.
if we can do that internally, then we have a better shot at doing it externally. Oh, we have a
Mhm.
comment here. A couple of hearts from Black Venom.
Thank you. Thanks for meditating with us.
Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah.
We always enjoy your
Mm.
comments. We oh here
Yeah,
we
totally.
here we have another one from Omar. Just
Hi,
saying hi.
Omar. Hi.
Nice to see
Nice to have you here. Yay, from Colorado.
you.
Mm.
Well, I suppose we should meditate some more. That's what
Yeah,
what
let's
we're here
meditate.
for.
All
All right.
right.
Well, we're gonna return to that nice upright meditation posture. Maybe
Mm.
just bring your shoulders up first, and then let them fall.
Mm.
Just circle them a little bit. Move your head around a little bit so that you're not having a lot of tension in your body when you go to sit, and can come into line. So you find your alignment and bring your spine into an upright position, head in line with your spine, and shoulders aligned with your hips and so on. Not leaning too far forward, not leaning too far back, but feeling balanced. Your weight just held on your sits bones. And the muscles of your core activated as you breathe. We're just trying to relax within that structure, within that container. And now beginning to listen to the story of the breath. And what a story it is. It's as rich and varied as life itself. But again, we're going to impose a certain structure on the breath. We might start by just listening to it, but we now turn to making the breath deep in your belly, allowing your belly to open and expand as you inhale, and allowing your abdominal muscles to just contract and become smaller as you exhale, and squeezing out all of the breath. Opening and relaxing on the inhale and tightening and contracting on the exhale. And feeling a lot of movement in your belly. As you inhale, just releasing that armor that we normally carry. We just keep our bellies so locked down, right? Just letting your belly just hang out there and expand like a big balloon. Then squeezing all that breath out on the exhalation, making much smaller, in towards your spine. Now we want to make our breath slower. We want to make our breath rhythmic. We want our breath to be heart-centered. We want our breath to be full. For this practice, I like to use the 12 beats in, 12 beats out. It's a longer count than I'll often recommend. So this means we're tuning into the heartbeat, feeling the heartbeat, and counting 12 beats on the inhalation and 12 beats on the exhalation. Now this may feel like a lot to do all this and to feel your heartbeat so closely and to track it so diligently. So let me just assure you that it is a lot. I'm asking a lot of you right now. And so your energy has to key up to meet that challenge. Now maybe you say, I just can't do it. I can't keep to that rhythm. Well, you do what you can and you keep working on it. You keep showing up for your practice. You keep trying. That in itself is good practice for us to experience change, and because there's some change that we must just endure. Now, the reason I like this rhythm is because it really slows down the breath. It forces us to get serious about breathing all the way in and all the way out. And it divides the breath into 3 groups of 4. And the 4-count rhythm is very easy to keep track of, right? It's boom, 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 boom. Right? I don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I just know that that's 4, right? It has that rhythm. 3 groups of 4, and this is nice because we have a beginning 4, a middle 4, and a final 4. Notice the character of your breath as you begin your inhalation. That wonderful rushing in quality. But control that, right? You have to control that flow. You can't let it sweep you away because you'll never get to the top of the inhalation. control it and move into the middle 4. Feel how the breath matures within that time. And then the energy builds and builds as we move into the last 4 here. What a swelling that is, a swelling of feeling, of energy, of emotion. Our hearts become full of that feeling, just as our lungs are full of breath, of life, of vitality. Really savor that breath, especially as you get to the culmination of it. And then you turn the breath toward the exhalation, and there's the beginning of the exhalation there, right? And that energy changes, doesn't it? First of all, it moves from culmination to release. And that has a certain energy to it, has a certain vibration to it. And that vibration builds and progresses as we move into the middle of the exhalation. There's a maturity there. There's a development, a reaching of fullness. And then as we continue and move into the final phase of the exhalation, that story just deepens, doesn't it? You feel that quality of the exhalation, that quality of expansiveness, of development, of radiance, of magnetism, of reaching out in all directions. And you feel it reach its ultimate. How exciting that is, right? That rhythm just carries you along, doesn't it? I mean, each breath is a story, and it has its own uniqueness to it. It also has its kind of broad characteristics it has, and that forms the rhythm, you know. You know, I often feel when I'm reading this way that each breath is like a lifetime. The breath carries the energy of that story that's as rich and varied and detailed as your life is. Sometimes I feel like there's so much richness moving through my heart that I can scarcely stand it. Yet I'm filled with wonder and love and admiration and the fullness of all of these things. Let the richness of your breath carry you forward. May you experience that truth that the breath is endlessly refreshing, endlessly renewing, endlessly revitalizing, endlessly reborn, even as it is ceaselessly passing away. Change is life, my friends. And there is no change that doesn't bring with it some pain. And so we find that pain is part of life. Not all of it, luckily. For that would be too constant, wouldn't it? That would be too. How would we appreciate it then? We need to have change in all things. When I was young, my father used to tell me this story, and it was of a king, and the king said to his trusted advisor, "Can you give me something that will help me to just stabilize my mood? I fly into these wild frenzies, and then I become deeply sad and depressed. Can you help me stabilize this and somehow?" And so the counselor went and thought on it, of course, and came back and presented a little box to the king, and the king opened it. And in it was a ring, and on the ring was inscribed the phrase, "This too shall pass." And I was like, well, did it have at least a big ass diamond on it as well? I mean, that doesn't seem that good, but this too shall pass. You know, it reminds us that when we get carried away, it reminds us that that'll pass. Good things pass, and so do the bad things, luckily. It all passes. But with the breath, we really get into the flow and we really live each instant of that flow. And that moment stretches out, transforms, matures, and develops and lives fully. So that's the thing I wish for you all as well. All right, well, let's end our meditation there and come out and move our bodies.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful meditation, Asatar.
That was nice to share that with you all. Now we have a comment here. I don't, and that little boy was George Harrison in my life. Okay. I think that's a comment on my story, right?
Right. I think so.
I'm not totally sure, but
I don't know why. But yeah.
you seem very relaxed now, Leah. Is that true?
I'm very relaxed. Yeah, you know, I really can get caught up in the fear of changes, even positive changes, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
so it feels really good to meditate this way. And you know, the breath practice that you're having us do, in addition to the guidance that you're giving us throughout the meditation, the actual breathing itself felt just so healing for my body. I've been having this stomach stuff going on, and like this felt so good, like it was just sorting through things. And it's like I almost feel somehow like braver or something, like ready, more full and more ready for all the things I'm becoming and creating, and the different changes I'm facing with myself. So
Nice.
um
I've been having
yeah,
those
so thank
stomach
you again.
issues too, and I noticed that, yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit present as I've been sitting, but then, yeah, that totally took my mind off that. I wasn't feeling that at all.
The breath like really helped to sort through a lot. It felt like that big breathing.
Yeah.
I'm glad you pushed us through that. So yeah.
Well, sometimes you need a bit of pushing, you know, I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for our viewers tonight, um, I just want to reiterate that something that helped me a lot through big change was actually the discovery of my heart, and the discovery of how that center of ourself is so constant, and it is really truly calm through all the storms. And it's kind of like just finding your way to that center within yourself. And then, as we demonstrated this evening, like using your breath to really help with whatever's happening surrounding the center of yourself as well. Because it's like, I just get so much reassurance from like things like the sun will rise the next day, right?
Right.
And also my heartbeat is always with me. My breath is always under my control, almost always under my control.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like two things that are constant always for you. They're like constant companions, but they again are living. So they're always
Yeah,
changing. Yeah.
that's so true. I mean, we were talking a little bit before the show about, um, the change that you can't see coming, or the change that, sort of creeps up on you, or all of a sudden it's happening, and you can't see necessarily what's coming, right? Because this is the nature of the story, right? We're a lot more in tune with the ending of things than we are with the beginning of the new thing, because that hasn't happened yet, right? So we're even
Yeah. Yeah.
even though that's clearly going to happen, right? And every indication of everything, right? Because look, we
Mhm.
know just from kind of living, we know that life never ends, does it? Right? I mean, the change goes on, um, and there will be a new beginning, and there the sun also rises, right? I mean, like we this is going to happen, but we just can't see it. We can't see around that corner, and
Yeah.
that's one of the hard things about it. We see something ending, and we're like, I don't like ending, because the ending is death. On some
Mhm.
level, it's death, right? And we're afraid of that.
Yeah.
That's the big change, and the
Yeah.
the old masters had this notion that what we were doing with meditation is preparing ourselves for death. We're preparing our
Mhm.
spirit for the great life beyond, and training ourselves in, what of us will survive, right? What
Right,
will
exactly.
carry forward, and
Yeah,
identifying ourselves with that which lives forever, and
yeah,
so
it's like a
the ancients called it becoming immortal, and
mm,
I mean, really interesting metaphor, right? You find this, the
mm,
immortal ones, in Taoist practice and Zen and so on.
yeah,
So I think it's an interesting metaphor, like what part of ourselves lasts forever, goes through these changes, you
yeah.
know, and is still has that core.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like tuning in with the prana, the breath. So the it says prana in the comment. So prana is a word for breath, but it's also a word very much for life itself.
Uh,
Yeah. And it's the we can find in ourselves through these meditations, like Asatar was speaking about, the true constant essence of our being. And it's like what's amazing to me is it rides on our breath and we can bring it like through our whole system.
yeah,
And that's really the attunement to the infinite within ourselves, the infinite life within
yeah.
ourselves. So, all
Well,
right.
beautifully said, Leah.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us. It was a really special set of meditations tonight.
Thank
We're
you, everyone.
in this together. So, and thank you for your comments. We really enjoyed getting those. And we
Yes.
will be here next week. And, if in the meantime, if you'd like to support the show, we have a link to the Patreon below. Don't
Yes,
forget
please
to
support
follow
the
Leah on
show.
Instagram.
Yes, I'd love to see you on Insta where my writing is. And everybody, happy meditating. Keep on meditating.
All right, truck in, you guys.
All right.
See you all next time.